Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Australian Survivor v World. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here for another pre-season podcast. We have someone who drew a pretty lucky straw, I think, to talk about someone that a lot of people would want to talk about. And of course, I have to give him someone good because I'm so excited to chat with him. It is the great Zach Wurtenberger. Zach, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Shannon. This is better than drinking a marg.
Do you drink a lot of margs?
It's not my first order, honestly. I'm not a big tequila guy, but Shonee likes it, so I like it.
Exactly. Well, I said to Zach, Zach kind of left me open that he could be the expert for a lot of different people. I was like, I've given you Shonee, and he was like, what an honor. A Shona, we
Yeah.
should say.
I'll
And
tell you
yeah.
what really happened for the audience. I sent her a list. I was like, these are the people I don't want to talk about.
I was giving you grace. I was giving actually what he sent. What I was going to give you grace, but now I won't. And this is for the real. This should be for the patrons, so they should get the graphic. He
Yeah.
printed out a card. He sent me a cast photo where he had put big X's across the faces of the people he didn't want. But Shonee escaped it. And I said, this is the podcast when you explaining the X's for why if each person should be the real podcast. But anyway, for the patrons, maybe one day. Yeah.
Oh, that's for the patrons, definitely. I think honestly, I think I crossed out about half of them, and then of the other half, Shonee probably would have been like my top choice anyways. So, I mean, what a treat! What a great player, and what a player that I think just hits on every aspect of Survivor.
Yes, in a way that I want to talk about it. We'll talk about this for Shonee, where there are so many stats where she's like a record breaker. She will now be the first 4-time player of Australian Survivor. She was the first 3-time player of Australian Survivor. If we only go max 2 seasons since she started playing as a Shonee off season, and then she comes back. But Shonee, the stats I feel like are lost on Shonee. Shonee is very much she says this on Instagram, and she's like, I'm here for my paycheck, it's a job for me. And is Shonee watching Survivor in the couple of seasons she's not on? Probably not, but she's a massive icon of the franchise.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of part of the appeal to her, right?
She's too cool for us.
Yeah, she's too cool. Exactly. I think that when I think of with Shonee is when people say they want more recruits on Survivor, they want more Shonee. Shonee is the exact perfect representation of what a recruit, someone who doesn't really know the show that well, can be, what they can provide in terms of the comedy, in terms of the drama, in terms of the strategy, and learning the game in front of us. I feel like every time that someone says oh, we should have more recruits, they want more people like her. And the truth is, a lot of recruits are not like her. She is very much a special example of this, of the person who really paid off and became an icon of the franchise. Probably in my opinion, the most iconic female player in all of Australian Survivor. And yeah, I mean, that's part of that is that appeal that you're talking about, that it does feel like she's way too cool for us.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment to say that she's the most iconic female player in Australian Survivor. I mean, there's definitely, you look at a Haley who won as well. But I feel for Shonee to come back now and keep compounding on the lore, where she started. So she first played in 2018. I have the stats here because it's crazy. So in the 9 seasons since 2018, she's played 4 times. Mm-hmm. Which is absurd. She's literally, almost at the 50-50 mark, which is absurd. So the fastest person to 4 seasons in US as well, I'm pretty sure would have been Boston Rob before this, which was 18 seasons in 9 years. So she's beating that.
Actually just got tied, by the way.
Oh, by Aubrey? No, Aubrey.
Yeah.
Aubrey. Yeah.
32-50 is versus 4-22.
Which is crazy because I said about Aubrey as well. I'm they've never had a returning opportunity since Aubrey first played in 32. I should have thought about Aubrey. I didn't have the 50 on True Dog Times, by the way. Not that I'm putting this on Jeff Pittman, but I was looking at my stats and I was like, okay, I've got it all. Didn't think about the 50 people. Thank you. Uh-huh. So Aubrey has been offered the opportunity to come back at every returning opportunity since she played. Mm-hmm. And for Shonee, pretty much. Other than Blood versus Water, I think I'm right about that. And I guess she could have been in the Luke spot. Man, they bring back a lot of returnees in Australian Survivor, but she's had a lot of opportunities. So Aubrey played in 2015 and now is back for 10 years later.
And Aubrey's would have been longer than Rob because you got to factor in that COVID year. So Aubrey would have taken an extra year from Rob.
Yeah, but Shonee is just constantly playing Survivor. Shonee's played 124 days of Australian Survivor. In, to be fair, the 5 years between 2018 and 2023, so far, more days will be added now in this very short season, which is absurd. We were talking about this offline. We were looking at the US stats of that. She's beaten only by Boston Rob, Parvati, and Aussie, who all have Redemption Island or Edge of Extinction. She's played a lot of Survivor. She's made the merge every time. She came fourth, seventh, and ninth. Like, not only is she on the show constantly, she's always making it very far.
Yeah. Do we
She
have to factor in Shawnee's exile beach days in there though? If we're gonna,
was a day.
I think it was like two or three because she also had the one at Final Nine and All Stars.
Oh well, okay. We'll talk about all these moments, but yeah, she
Yeah.
went. So exile at the final nine. To be fair, was like very much part of the game. Everyone got voted to exile, and then she
Right.
was voted out
Hmm.
of All Stars early, and then immediately came back. And I think that was like one night,
I
or
think
maybe
yeah.
a day.
I've never, and I'm sure there are these people that exist, right? Because we talk about how many times Shawnee's played Survivor. She's someone that I've never seen anyone complain about playing Survivor again because she is like so fun, and also she's someone who like is just always a net positive on every scene. She's not like a camera hog. She doesn't like just totally like take all the air up in the room. She just adds to every single scene by just being so funny and like contributing to the game. Um so like yeah, it's like her fourth time and to me that doesn't feel like enough honestly. Like I'm so happy that we get to see her again compared to some of these players like someone like a Russell, right? When Russell comes back
She
onto
was
a
on the same
season,
season as, which is
she
crazy.
was, yeah, I don't they didn't get the opportunity to interact, which is a huge
Unfortunately,
missed opportunity.
it was a missed opportunity because her like reading Russell in confessional is something we were owed as
Oh
people.
yeah,
But Russell
definitely.
unfortunately left much before with an idol around his neck, much before he could meet Shonee. But yes, and you were comparing Shonee to Russell, I think.
No, but if I can do the although they did both leave with an idol around their neck, so
Well,
you
yes,
know.
with an
Uh
idol.
if I were to compare Shawnee to any like American players for the people who really don't know her, I'd say if you mixed Courtney Yates
Yeah.
and Kelly Wentworth
Oh,
together,
okay.
that is Shawnee because she has the Courtney Yates. Like she is so funny. She is so like talking shit in the confessionals. Like that is her big like bread and butter. That's what people love about her. But she's also and by the way, she's Courtney Yates if the producers actually loved Courtney and were willing to give her all the screen time she deserved because Shawnee does get that. But then she also has that Kelly Wentworth, like underdog, scrappy game player who is willing to fight from the bottom, who is going to find a ton of idols in any given season, uh, who is someone who, like, you know, she loves to work with like the young, scrappy women, just like Kelly. Like she has that amazing underdog quality that makes her like so fun to root for, and also like yeah, gets the screen time that someone like Courtney deserves, but never really got.
I love those comparisons. And like Courtney is someone I think we've heard compared to her. I think Courtney also has that element that Shawnee has, which is like, why am I here? Like, I'm just here, like, basically to get my check, which is what, Shawnee says. And, Courtney was like, I don't think I'm going to last. And then kind of did so much better than she expected. And Shawnee has just done that now, but like into the fourth season. Kelly Wentworth, I don't think is someone we've heard compared to her, but I think that is a great example because we'll talk about it. Shawnee has experienced so much of Survivor again in her like record breaking Survivor days, and she's been to like Survivor Wiki says, and I hope it's not wrong, and not including 50 and everything, but like she's been to 47 tribal councils, which Survivor Wiki says is like a global record, which makes sense because that's a lot of
Oh
tribal
yeah.
councils. So she's played so much of the game. She's been voted off the jury. Like she's really had a lot of the experience. And I feel like when we talk about it, we'll talk about how she's definitely been at the top. She's definitely controlled things, but she spends a lot of time being the scrappy underdog. In these like hyper physical Australian Survivor seasons, you wouldn't think that the first four-time player will be someone who can do well in challenges, and certainly she's good at like treading water. That's like a big one for her, and like some of the endurance. But like a lot of these like jewels in the early games and these strength-based competitions, she ends up being on the bottom against like very physical competitors or these athlete alliances that has to fight against that. So she gets this kind of scrappy underdog game that Kelly has certainly had. I think someone that she gets compared to is someone she will play with. Parvati is someone that I think, and it's not like as much the like classic Parvati flirt, but I think like the comparison is like charm. You can see like that really
Mm.
tangible social charm, that like superpower that you can almost like bottle. Like it's really clear for Parvati. I think you can see it, and I think for Shonee there are moves where you're like, oh, that is just her social graces. Like you see her going to work socially, and that is very much Shonee's like superpower in the game, I think.
Yeah, I think Parvati's also another good example. I think with Parvati, there's such an emphasis on that like flirt game, right? Like when someone says, "Oh, they're playing a Parvati style game," that's like it just naturally comes with like the oh, they're using their flirtation and all that, which definitely isn't Shawnee's style as
No.
much. But yeah, the charm and the fact that like Parvati is like, I mean, probably the one of the two faces of like female Survivor players for America, and Shawnee's probably like the face of female Survivor players for Australia. So yeah, I totally see that.
Yeah, I think for both of them, even with Parvati's flirt game, there's always been a big emphasis on Parvati's female relationships as well. And Parvati loves taking like a younger woman, I think, like Michelle under her wing. And if Shonee can make it to her, I think Shonee would be perfect for that for Parvati, because yeah, Shonee has these relationships every season where she links up with another strong woman and has this like kind of iconic alliance. It was definitely Shonee and Fenella in the first season. Shonee was really close with Brooke in the second season, and then Shonee and Liz took it all the way for Liz to the win, and they were super, super close. And for Parvati, I could see Shonee being that for her, where it's like this kind of like mentor relationship, because Parvati played in Winners at War, and I think she had a 10-month-old at the time. And I think at the time that was like the youngest like mother to go out, not just mother, but you know, you understand. And Shonee is coming back from the season with so much having changed, even in the brief time since she played, where she has an 8 or 9-month-old. So really around that similar age. And I'm sure that'll be a very different experience for Shonee. And I'm sure having someone who fully gets it in the way that Parvati was out on Winners at War will be like a massive connection point. So I could definitely see if they can make it to the same tribe, I could see that being a very important alliance.
Yeah, well, you say Parvati, and I think that's a great point. And I think we're definitely going to see. Looking at this cast, I really feel great for the women and not great for the men. I just feel like this whole cast is kind of set up for all the women to succeed. But Shonee, I noticed when I was looking back at her seasons, she always has like the same exact kind of like core alliance structure in this really funny way. She's always got like it's herself, and she's got like kind of like the cool girl that is her like bestie out there.
Yeah.
So it's Fenella, Brooke, Liz, right? And then she loves like the schemy, the schemy dude, the schemy
Brian,
stormy guy.
George.
So I wasn't even gonna say Brian in first season. I was gonna say Benji.
Benji also, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So Benji in her first season, and then her second season, it's like it trades between like Nick and then Harry and then AK. It's like it's kind of a rotating roster. And then obviously in her latest season was George. So like when we're looking at, all right, who's going to be the new like cool woman that she aligns with? I mean, she has plenty of options. That could be Sarah, that could be Kirby, that could be Parvati, like plenty of people.
Then Cass. I'm halfway through Cass's season. She's cool.
Cass, okay, sure. Yeah. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
But then when I'm looking at like who would be like her schemy sidekick, I don't actually see that person on this season.
George again.
It can't be George again. There's no way.
We'll talk about it. There's a lot of water under the bridge.
Okay, all right, yeah. The bridge is underwater.
Yeah. Yeah. Who would that schemy guy be? Is it Tony? Can she change?
Tony's not the same. No, she couldn't work with a Tony, I don't think. She needs someone who's like a little bit chiller, a little bit more. Well, here's something that I've noticed, like going through Shawnee's games a lot. I find that she is someone who, almost like in a Parvati sense, like gets along with the people that she gets along with. Yes. And then for the people that she doesn't get along with, she can certainly fake it. It's not like she's, but she's not great at like getting everyone onto her side. Like in her first season, right? Like there was very much Shar and Shane until the alliance at the very end. We're like not
honorary
really
member right
with
here.
her.
Yeah.
What was it?
I'm an honorary member. Shonee, Shane, Sean, me. It's so hard when you have a list. I can't believe they made this shit alliance with all of, and they were then like, I don't know. Australian Survivor loves the shit names. It's crazy.
Yeah. That iconic season. And then in All Stars, like obviously David's alliance was just impenetrable, right?
Yes.
Well, I mean, she did get through to at least one of them. And I noticed that she really likes to work with people who are around her age range and around her like vibe, but she doesn't generally work too much with people who are like a decent amount older than her or like wildly different. And so when I look at this cast, there are certainly the people like the Parvatis and the Sarahs that I can like easily see like a connection with. But when I wonder like her with someone like Tony, like that's a connection I just cannot see at all.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I thought the same thing, that like, if it's her people, she is like the queen bee. And then she has friends, but she has enemies. It was Sean twice. Like Sean and her were on the beach together for a long time, could not, really find much of that common ground, other than you said, kind of that one vote where like Monica goes home. They were not working together. They were kind of oil and water. I think that is very much the Shonee game. And I think, yeah, if people are kind of getting a sense of who she is, there is that. But I feel like the social game, again, I think in its way, it's very targeted. It is. It's kind of around. She's so good at like kind of getting these groups that are so fun. You think about like her and Liz. I don't remember who was proposing to the other one, but they made that alliance. There's always like the fun alliance name, and then there was
Yeah.
the Spice Girls with George, and it's this like iconic thing. Like it's fun for them. It's fun for the audience. There's so many iconic moments, I should say. And if you're out of that, like you are very much out of that. But she can kind of have that back and forth. Like she and Stevie had been kind of enemies, but they were like okay with it and like laughing about it.
Mhm.
I think that the worst way that this went was, I'm kind of jumping around to seasons here, but in the latest season, I actually think the latest season was her best season. Like even though she's gone 4-7-9, I think she's only gotten better and better as she's like become, she's had a very different game. So as she's become like more experienced. But like one of the worst things, other than getting blindsided with the idol, which was also a big probably cross, much like the graphic you sent me of the people you wanted and didn't want to podcast about. No, but I think that one of the worst things was that she very heavily invested in Flick. And she was so wrong. Like she put it on the line. Like George wanted to get rid of Flick in the post swap. We're kind of jumping around for the people who haven't seen. But he wanted to get rid of someone that they had swapped with. And Shonee saw someone her age, someone who was a vibe, a cool girl who was going to connect to like these other cool people who had been on the heroes tribe, and the villains had been really through the ringer. They'd been decimated. And she was like, yes, this is it. And Flick, who George had played with, was not like, she was just selling her a bill of goods. And Flick also has an amazing social game. And Shonee, the social queen, fell for that social game and then was, she was immediately wrong. She put it all on the line for Shonee. They ended up voting out Stevie as a compromise. I think she said, I will play the idol on Flick. She was so ready to go to bat for someone who did seem to fit the vibe. And Flick was not in on it. And she immediately betrayed them. And I think she was like actively targeting Shonee. And Shonee she was like literally like, that was rude. She was so personally offended. She's like, I've invited you into my clique. Like you should be so lucky. And was taken for a ride. And you don't really see that often with Shonee, who I do think usually has pretty good reads. But I think it's what you say. Like she had that relationship with Flick, who so suits the Shonee vibe, but was not actually like investing in it in the way that Shonee thought she would be.
Yeah, I think that's one of those, if I had to guess, I would say that that's one of those things where your experience in the game comes in as a disadvantage because, like, look, I couldn't imagine what it must be like to be, she would have been on like day 107 of Survivor for her, right? So she's been like, I've been here before, okay? I've dealt with someone like this. This always works out. Like, this has worked out for me. And then sure enough, this was the first time where like that dynamic, that vibe that she's found with another girl that she's kind of latched onto did not work out. And she's very lucky that that didn't like result in her elimination, that she was safe there. Didn't like someone play an idol for her at that moment?
Yeah, Liz did, but they had the numbers. Like the vigilantes separately had the numbers. Like to be fair, in the told you so of it all between her and George, George was like, I want to go this way. And she was like, I want to go with Flick. Flick wasn't with her, but George still cobbled together the vigilantes, which won out. And Liz played an idol for her. So it won out, but George, I think, could go back to her and be like, I told you about Flick. And to be fair, George had played all the way to the final, 3 with Flick in a season before. So he was very sure about it, and he was right about her.
Yeah. I mean, look, she that was obviously like just a bad read on someone. It happens. I mean, if that's one of the worst things that she's done through it all of her seasons, I think that's still a pretty great resume. Yeah, I don't know. That is a good point. And I could see that happening to her when I look at this cast. Like there are when we talk about like the Sarah, the Parvati, like these are obviously women who are very cutthroat and are like, willing to do whatever they need to get ahead here. But I think that Shawnee's someone who has like learned and takes what she's gained from her previous seasons. I want to go back to something that you said actually earlier, which is that you thought that her best season was Heroes versus Villains. I think it's interesting, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. What really struck me is, and I want to go back to this Kelly Wentworth comparison, because it did remind me a lot of Kelly Wentworth in Edge of Extinction, where she went from being like the perennial underdog in Second Chance to all of a sudden she's playing with these new players. She's looked at as like a leader. She's almost like a role model to some of the people on her tribe. I think the Kelly, Lauren, Shonee Liz duos are like
Yeah,
very
that's
similar.
very good. Yeah.
Um, and I think that like because of that, because of like the power that she had from playing with new players, she really got to show her strategic side in her latest season. Unlike we'd seen in either of the other ones, where she was very much a social player who also was willing to strategize, but like was never the strategist of her group. This season, she all of a sudden like was the strategist in a lot of spots, along with George. Um, do you think that in this upcoming season, she's going to try to like maintain like that like kind of strategic force within the tribe, or do you think she'd want to like go back to her more like social roots and like letting like other people take the reins on the game itself?
I mean, I think that if you can like maintain and control, although I mean, it's not a very long season, but I think that you take it if you can. And I think that she did that so well in Heroes versus Villains. Like I don't there were lows, as we'll talk about with Heroes versus Villains, like with the flick thing and then being blindsided with the idol. And it was, I guess, her worst showing statistically on her actual like placement. But I think that it was a lot of her best work. And we can talk about
Mhm.
that, like especially the Villains tribe who got like decimated down to just 6 of them. Think she put on a lot of good work there. I think that you want, if you can be in that position of power, take it. But if you're forced to be on the bottom and really make those individual bonds and like get your way through, Shonee is maybe even better at that. And I think she will be forced into that position. We can talk about it, but I've described David as like the center of everything happening. And she did not work with David on All Stars. She did vote for him to win, but I don't come in like, oh, that's like an ace in the hole for her at all. And David has so many options. So I think
Mhm.
that's the issue. That'll be interesting to me. It's like she has no love lost with David, who's so close to like a Parvati, who I do think would love Shonee. Like I think she would. That is just it's a match made in heaven,
Ooh,
but
oh,
it's complicated
yeah. I
by
totally
that.
forgot that David Parvati connection. Oh,
That's
that does
everything. That's
complicate.
the whole season.
That
Yeah.
complicates a lot. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that I think like Shawnee's coming in, I think, in a tricky spot. She's there with this kind of in this tribe that I've said is like David, Luke, Sarah, Janine, all connected. Kirby's connected to Luke, and then she and George, who we'll talk about it. The last time she was on
Uh-huh.
Survivor, he blindsided her with an idol who was a part of voting her off the jury. It was like,
Yeah.
really rubbing salt in the wounds. I don't think he really minded about the jury, but he certainly like hugely betrayed her as like one of her closest allies, which was so upsetting because before that, George and Shonee working together was like this dream team that was so much fun. Like in the Spice Girls
Mhm.
with Liz, they really they had like they gained a lot of power. She protected him so much. And this is why I
Yeah.
say in her third season through the Villains tribe, we saw so much of that really good work because she had to protect George a lot. She had to kind of like she came with this massive target on her back, and like Stevie was talking about it, but she like rose to being the queen of the tribe. Super fun stuff with the Spice Girls. She's really close with Geordie as well. Like she was the center of everything, I feel. Really a connector between these kind of groups where like George and like Simon and Geordie really hated each other. And then she uses one of her 3 idols that season to get the power at the swap in the famous I don't think God likes Paige moment. And then they fully controlled her through the swap. And it was like 10 out of 10 until that flick moment. And then she kind of still has power at the merge, comes back from that.
Mhm.
And then at Final 9 is blindsided with I don't know pocket. So it's an interesting trajectory because she wasn't really on the bottom. Like she had a lot of power. Like at the beginning, her name was certainly out there. She and George were very much talked about. She gained power very, very quickly. She just like kept that power in really, really impressive ways. Had idols and all of that. Whereas if you look at her other seasons, we can talk about it. Like she was in her first season, I feel like it was up and down, like mostly because like Brian and Monica through the merge would flip a lot, and she would kind of be either with them or not with them. She had like good stuff happening through a lot of the pre-swap. Although Anita was idled out, I think she was aligned with her, but then like was swapped to a minority. So I feel like that kind of created a flexibility that she's good at. Like she was good at like
Yeah.
jumping on plans and was big like part of like the Matt Rogers blindside and other
Yeah.
big things. And then but then her All Stars game, other than the swap, was like fully being on the bottom in more so than any of the other seasons. That was just so oppressive with very few wins and just having to like really be that Kelly when we're star underdog, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you said it very well. It's when you have like 125 days of Survivor or whatever number it is, right? Like she's been in a lot of different scenarios. But what's fun is she's always rootable and she's fun through every single one of those. And like it doesn't matter if she's at the top or at the bottom. Um, like I'm always my entertainment is always kind of decided on like if she can make it to that next episode. Also, if we're talking about like her and George being kind of like in a bad spot on this tribe, you gotta think that they target George first, right?
Oh,
Like,
definitely. Oh, yes. George
yeah,
is in the worst possible spot. Like George, it could
yeah.
like David will be targeting George before even Shonee, despite the fact that they did not work together. George is completely screwed, I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
But then other than that, like even if like the Sarahs do want to work with Shonee, I just don't see like I just think she might run out of runway. But then Shawnee's so good at being in that spot, like I'm sure she'll find a way. But it's not a great position for her, I think, being
I
on this tribe.
I also just look at the tribes and I don't know. I guess Rob is a pretty strong dude and Tony's strong. Um, the USA tribe looks older overall, like by a decent amount. So or not USA, sorry, the World tribe. So I could see the World like kind of
The world.
going to the first, two or so
The world
tribals,
burning.
and
Yeah.
then they better do a swap like instantly
Well,
because I
merge or
mean,
something.
yeah, I
Yeah.
want to see these people actually interacting with each other. I don't really like the fact that it's all the Australians together. It's like, yeah, I've seen this before. Like, no, I want to see Shawnee with Parv or Suri with Janine or whoever.
Yeah. I mean,
We'll see.
what's your favorite season for Shonee?
What's my favorite season for her?
Mm.
I mean, I loved her on season 3. I just thought she was so funny. Uh, in terms of rooting for her, season 5, I was rooting for her, but I was definitely rooting for David, and I saw him as like the person who could actually win it. But still, I think season 5 was honestly the one I was rooting for her the hardest, just because she proved like the only kind of counter resistance, like her little group with like Brooke and AK, versus this like big evil group that like, yes, I like David, but
Yeah.
everyone else, and I was convinced that it was going to be like Mo is the winner, so I was just like praying that we would get the like Little Rascals redemption,
Yeah.
uh, and it didn't happen. But the fact that they made it as far as they did, and Shawnee from like being at the bottom from the start of that season, ending up in 7th place, like it's incredible.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of those big moments because I do think, yeah, the only like fracture to what Dave was doing in that whole merge came by way of Shawnee. I think it is the best singular embodiment of all her superpowers because again, you can just say like, wow, she did amazing work on the villains tribe, but like as one particular example, what happened was Dave was running the whole game. If you all remember from the Dave podcast we just did, we're going to flip to the other side of that. Then there was this like ragtag group of underdogs. Lockie got voted out. He went on The Bachelor though. It's okay. He actually and he got married and he had a kid. From The
Oh,
Bachelor. Crazy.
so he was not like a contestant on The
He was
Bachelorette.
The
He was
Bachelor.
the Bachelor.
Yeah,
Whoa!
yeah, from Survivor. It
And he
was
ended up
crazy.
with
I
his final one.
Yeah, and they have a kid, and she was nice too. And I remember I didn't get an X interview with Lockie because he went on The Bachelor, and he was just a bachelor. It was
Oh,
crazy.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway, that was Lockie, and then Harry went, and then so yeah, there was this like big group, and then it became Brooke, Shonee, and AK who were this like trio that really wanted to do well. Like we really were rooting for the underdogs, and they did this twist in the middle of like how terrible that post merge was. I don't even remember the mechanics of it because it was so convoluted, but like you would vote people over like a series of 3 episodes or whatever to Exile Island.
yeah. So 6 people ended up on Exile Island, and
Yeah.
then if I remember, 3 of them could win immunity, and then everyone would vote on which of the like remaining 3 was going to go home.
Okay. So that's a lot. But what Shonee did was she was given time. She was given the gift of time to get it to Jackie's ear to flip just Jackie. And Jackie hated Zach. And she
Other
got
Zach.
Jack. Yes, the other Zach, the Zach that sucks comparatively to our Zach for sure. I mean, not known for necessarily like coming back on All Stars for making misogynistic comments explicitly, as far as I know. Right? I mean, we don't
No,
know.
no, but I will say that I don't have a bird sanctuary.
Yeah, well, that to be fair is a point in his favor. We don't know the whole 42 cut. I mean, if you were talking about like women washing dishes or whatever, but yeah. So Jackie didn't love Zach and Shonee. Like, I felt like we really saw superpowers to get Jackie across the line, and then the majority that had been so comfortable split the votes 3-3-3, and they came over the top on this plurality vote because Jackie flipped, and that got them to a 4-4, which was like almost good enough. And then Dave strangleheld it again,
Hmm.
and he had immunity, and he played immunity on Tarzan, and he convinced Sean not to flip to the other side and go to rocks. And yeah, and then the other side voted out Jackie, and then were
Yeah.
all subsequently voted out. So for that, but what a win! That one like singular win, and it did take like a massive twist, and it did take time, but like that was like I said, Shawnee's really good at like finding options and is usually kind of like up and down. And that was definitely true of her first season and probably the first half of All Stars. But that second half, it was very, very hard to like find anything to grab onto. And that was the one thing. So thank you, Shawnee, for that week. But yeah,
Mhm.
and then she did get voted out in 7th. But yeah, that was a
Yeah,
good
but
week.
to execute a plurality like vote final 9 is obviously like a classic move. It's something that she shares in common with like some of the other people that she's going to be playing on this season with. Obviously think of Tony there. It was an incredible move. It was the highlight of that post merge. It came because like of the social ability to kind of read who is the person that is the most flippable here, Jackie, who is the person that she is most like willing to flip on, Zach, and putting in the work along with
Yeah.
like a core set of allies. And I think that one thing that's great with Shonee is that she's able to like really unite a small group uh, that is able to execute on plans like this. And obviously, she made that happen. Speaking on Zach, also, I made a joke about the bird sanctuary. I think that's another like just great Shawnee moment from that season where they get to the merge, and Shawnee's trying to work on Zach a little bit along with Brooke. So she tells Brooke, she's like, "Hey, ask him about his birds. Like he loves his birds."
That's so good as well because I want that to be like I want to sign. I want to be wearing a shirt that says "Ask me about my cats" at all times. So that's just great.
Right.
Yeah, she was
And
cool with
I
that.
guarantee that if you were like playing Survivor with Shawnee, she would be asking you about your cats, and then she'd be in confessional making fun of you
One
for
hundred
talking about
percent.
your cats.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like she would be talking to me about my cat. I would be so excited to be talking to her about my cats, especially,
Mhm.
and she would be thinking this person is such a loser. This is,
Right, yeah.
but she's like, to be fair, like we're too cool for Shawnee, but she was aligned with like Nick and stuff. Is Nick too cool for me?
Oh, no, I don't think that's the thing. I don't think that we are too cool for her. I think that she has that vibe where she feels too cool for everyone, right? But that's what makes it so special when you're in the game and she comes to you and all of a sudden
Unless
she
you're Flip.
does want to talk to you and she does want to work with you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh my god," like and you're right, that is a very like Parvati aspect to her, like that she has the charm that just draws people in, and then when she opens up to those people, like yeah, it does really like breathe this like undying loyalty. Well, not for George, but for most people.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she had to go back to back, like 2 for 2 to try get Sean to go to rocks. Like it was particularly no, that wasn't it. No, to Flip.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah. They had to get Sean to Flip. If Sean had
Mhm.
just stayed with it, they all would have gone to rocks. Actually, what ended up happening was they capitulated to not go to rocks in the hope that Sean wouldn't immediately turn on them because then she would have been giving up her entire game. But Sean did give up her entire game, and then they were voted out. So she would have to flip Sean across, and I think that one was a little bit too much for even Shawnee's lofty pay grade because she'd had this whole season with Sean, and that would have been amazing. Imagine the All Stars world, the alternate universe where they bring Jackie across there at the 4-4, and then they do get Sean across just on the fear of
Yeah.
like not going to rocks, and then like Shawnee wins the season probably, right? Like it's a probably 33% chance at the very least.
Maybe, or maybe that's what Shard needs.
Well, it would have been better for Sean, but no, Sean probably goes home too.
Yeah.
Sean should have gone to rocks. That's always been my thing.
Do you
But
think
in this is
Sharn? Do you think
yeah.
Sharn should have been on this season?
No. Do
No,
you?
okay. I think like as the two-time runner-up, like I think there's a story there.
You might
Maybe
be
I
the only
think if
person
this was
asking
like
for that.
if it was like a tribe of 10, I honestly wouldn't have minded a Shard 3.0. Especially with Shawnee again, like just to see that like story repeat itself and like see these women who I'm sure can't stand each other at this point.
Yeah. The 3-time Shawnee combo, which neither of them want,
Uh-huh.
would be pretty amazing. I feel like we've kind of like evolved past like Sean's era in the game, which is so interesting because her first 2 times were with Shawnee. But like again, Shawnee's like kept playing every couple of years. But yeah, I mean, so Shawnee starts off in Sean's season. Like what do we make about like her evolution through the game? Or do we think that do we think she started off this good and has just been showing it in different ways? Or do we think that she's like continued to learn and now like also has like the benefit of this like honestly massive blind side? That's a lesson in of itself. Like, are
Mhm.
we at like peak Shawnee, or has Shawnee kind of always been that great? And we've just watched it over the last 7 years.
I think socially she's always been that great. Like I don't think that she's learned anything like social skills that have helped her. And she found herself in some like real bad spots in her first season. Like specifically, she was swapped to a tribe of like 6'2" minority and then
Yeah.
managed to survive 2 different votes. One because she got people to flip or they already wanted to flip, but she like certainly helped that. And then one because they just liked her better than Tegan, I believe was her name.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, like we've seen her excel socially. I think that what we've really seen Shonee grow is in the strategic sense. I think that she's someone who came into the game uh not really a numbers person very much, but still very smart and very much able to pick up on it. And she had the competitive nature and like the want to actually pick that up, right? I remember actually in the final 8 of her first season, so season 3, she kind of like made a blunder with that vote steal where she stole the wrong person's
Sean's
vote.
vote.
Yeah, she stole Sharn's vote and then put the
And
votes on
Sean was the
Sharn,
target. Yeah.
which meant that she wasn't able to then reuse that vote on the second time. And those rules are so weird. So it's not like I blame her for that. I don't think that's the kind of mistake that Sharn 4.0 would make. I think that
Shonee.
Shonee, sorry. Oh, geez,
It's very hard.
they
I'm
are hard.
telling you,
Yeah,
this is my issue. Yeah.
that is the mistake that Sharn would make. Uh,
No. We
but
agree.
no, I don't think that Shonee would make a mistake like that these days because I think she's really gotten her finger on the pulse. She's played with some of the greatest of all time. She is one of the best of all time. Um, and yeah, like once we see all of a sudden her second season, she's doing a 4-3-2 vote. Her third season, she's finding like what 3 idols, something like that. She's
Yeah.
helping George with that insane whatever his name is vote, the one where they made it look like it was
Fraser,
Stevie.
how dare
Fraser,
you?
yeah, exactly. So she's been there and she like her I think her gameplay is just the strategic part has elevated so much.
Yeah, to be fair, she did just get voted out with an idol in her pocket. But
Oh, well.
but I agree with you. I do agree with you. I think that we see like the tricks come out more. I think at first it was a very intuitive social game. We saw that through the very beginning of her game. We see that get her again through the swap in this very social way. And then I think she really earned her stripes through that post merge in her first season because it was so up and down and she's having to like cling to these life rafts and like make those connections. And even like at the point where it is a lot of like Brian and Monica flipping and her like being a part of that or not. But then also she like does align with Shonee and Shane. No, she's
Yeah.
Shonee. Why is it so hard?
Right. Yeah.
She does align with Sean and Shane in this alliance that is impossible to
Uh-huh.
vote out Monica, right? So she's like fine, and I think that that was like a turning point. And then to earn so much more through being not just in the minority of All Stars through the merge and like really getting that Kelly Wentworth experience, but in the pre-swap up against the athletes when they're like she's just weaker in the challenges, and she did
Yeah.
have to use an idol to save herself. She did get voted to exile. She has a Little Rascals with Harry and with Nick, but it was that was like the really fun underdog. That's where that began. And then she came in like she has like such perfect, comprehensive, well-rounded experience, whether it's for the losses that you learn from or the skills, because then to come into Heroes Villains and to have so much of that power, and again to go through the trenches of the villains and really earn a lot of that. She had 3 idols in that season, one of which she used on George at the swap. 2 that went home in pockets, one with Geordie that she passed over, one that went on home in her own pocket. But she's like throwing challenges to help people on the other, to help Liz on the other side. Like there's a lot of like more overt strategy there, even though we know that social and strategy are like, so synonymous. But I do think that that has very much come out, and I'm excited to see it in this group of legends because I do think it's been honed over the past 7
Yeah.
years.
To be clear, she would have been voted out pre-merge in All Stars,
Yeah,
right?
she went to exile. She was
Sean's
voted
the
out.
exile. Yeah, okay.
But even
So like
that was like, you can't blame her for that, to be honest, because that was just an unfortunate situation. She got put in like a tribe of
yeah.
athletes because Australian Survivor is going to Australian Survivor. They were like, she's
No,
just
yeah.
weaker. She did find an idol and saved herself, and then like got voted out with Zach, ironically. But
Mhm.
the other Zach, not
Yeah,
you.
just for the
Yeah,
sake of like comprehending, like she's not perfect. And
he's perfect
there
to
were
us.
plenty of situations. Oh yeah, she's perfect casting.
Yeah,
So yeah, like and that is Australian Survivor. Like you do just need to kind of like get lucky in those specific instances. I do think something really interesting about her is this like, and this really came in her last season, like her just idol finding abilities. I mean, the fact that she found 3 idols in her last season, I can't confirm this is true, but I have to imagine that she's the only person in like Survivor history to have played an idol for herself, played an idol for someone else, had someone else play an idol on her and then get voted out with an idol. Like,
and get someone else voted out also with her idol. So in
right,
the
yeah,
space of
yeah,
2 seasons only,
yeah.
she ran the gamut. George played an idol on her. Sorry, she played an idol on George. Liz played an idol on her. She played an idol on herself in All Stars. Most of this was also just one season. Geordie
Yeah.
went home with her idol, and then she went home with her own idol. A lot going on in
I
terms
mean,
of the
it's just
pass around.
insane.
Yeah.
And I think that she's on a season that's going to have a lot of, people hunting for the idol. So like, who knows if that gets replicated. Um, but I don't think, I think that for all of that stuff that we just said, she's not someone who's like, you instantly think of like, oh, Shonee, like that's an advantage player. Like that's
No.
someone who like
But it's
is
weird
going to
because
be
we do think of
scampering.
her as an underdog, right? So
Yeah.
that kind of usually is hand in hand.
But when you look at, I look at David and I just imagine like the two golden god, like the two idols around him, the
Yeah.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
I mean, George has tattoos of his idols, right? Like
He
those
has a
guys,
tattoo.
and then
One idol.
Tony, yeah, Tony as
Yeah.
well. I mean, like I just think of him as like, oh, that's the idol guy. That's the guy who like is constantly searching. That is her, but she doesn't have the stink of it.
Yeah. And she's so I'm again, unless my facts are wrong from True Rock Times and the Survivor Wiki, thank you for your help. Unless you don't put in 50 stuff, which I need, but it's fine. No, she's the first woman in Australian Survivor history to get voted out with an idol in her pocket. We love representation. To be fair, Kez would have been, but she passed it to Flick.
Oh, yeah,
So
okay.
that was controversial. I don't know if we can count that. And then so they changed that rule. So maybe that's why she was the first. And I think it's a global for women, it's a global record to have found 3 in one season with Kelly Kim. So I mean, but Shonee
Wow.
has so many records because she's played so much Survivor. Like she's just
Yeah.
run the gamut of the experience. So it is kind of amazing. But I do worry about her. Do you worry about her as much as me in this group, or am I just like that is not the group for her, or
I
do you think she can
wasn't
find a way out?
I wasn't worried about her, but the way that you describe the connections, I get what you mean. Because for me, when I just look at this, I look at this Australian tribe, right? And I see like you got to target David or you got to target George. Like those are
It's
just
not gonna be David.
he's too connected with
He's so
Janine and
connected.
Sarah. I mean,
And
that's
Luke.
well, Luke, I know obviously, but like
Yeah, and Luke's got Kirby. That's the whole tribe. We just described everyone who's not George and Shonee.
you know better than me like what these connections go. I just see them on my TV and then they disappear. I look at these 4 women on this tribe and I look at 4 women who would all be happy to do like an all-female alliance who
I
all
don't think
worked.
so.
No. Well, Janine did it. I mean, Janine was
Janine also worked a lot with Luke and David. Like I mean,
yeah.
maybe eventually, but I think like I think because Kirby, like this is the thing with this whole season, right? No one will know anyone, and no one no one will know anyone from watching them on the show. Some of them have connections from knowing them in real life, but like Kirby, who hasn't seen the show, has a real life friendship with Luke from before she played. Like she's gonna cling on to Luke. I think. I don't think she's
Oh,
gonna be
okay, yeah.
like she's gonna go to Shonee, and she's gonna be like, "Who are you?" And Shawnee's gonna be like, "And who are you?" Like that is the Kirby Shonee
Yeah.
relationship. Like to be fair, again, that was the season after Shonee played Titans v Rebels, and Shonee was not watching Titans v Rebels. Let's be honest, right? She doesn't know who Kirby is.
Now Shonee didn't. Obviously, Shonee played with David.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that like Shonee and Luke haven't crossed paths. I mean, they were on
Yeah.
seasons 2, 3, 4, and 5, like just alternating.
Yeah. Yes.
You don't think if that's going to be the power like locus you're saying David and Luke, like you don't think that like she's the kind of person that they would be like happy to bring in?
Well,
It's just such a small
maybe, but
tribe
there's
that like
there's no space. And the thing is,
yeah.
like, I'm trying to think about what Luke kind of said about Shonee when we covered All Stars and Talking Tribal. But the thing is, like, Luke was really rooting for David. But then I
Mhm.
look at it and I think George and Shonee, like, actually might need to rely on each other. And they had this amazing relationship, right? Like
Yeah.
they had this, it was so fun. One of the best moments in Survivor history, but the people who didn't see it. They were trying to work out who, it was so good. I can't even do it justice. They're trying to work out who to vote out from the other side, where they're going to play an idol to get the numbers at the swap.
Yeah.
And they're like, who should it be? And then there's like this montage.
I could, yeah. I can set you up if you want the line.
Yes. Well,
It
you're going
was,
to give
it was, I think they were talking about who it should be. And then
what would they said, what would God want?
Shonee goes, what would God want?
Yeah, and apparently God meant what would the producers want, which is so something that Shonee and George would both think about. Like, who's the worst TV? And there was this montage of Paige, who it was also cathartic because Paige was known as being like an animal hunter. So I was like, you do
Mhm.
you, right?
Yeah.
And there was this montage of her being really bossy at camp and like really annoying. And it goes, and they're both like in the like prayer position. They're like, I don't think God likes Paige.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best. I think that could be on the t-shirt. I want
Yeah.
talk to me about my cats on one side, and then I don't think God likes Paige on the other. And from the animal connection, it actually could work.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that like, but it was such a fun duo, and they did so many fun things. And at the merge, they get this group together, and like it's perfect until George blindsides Shonee, and I think she could hold a grudge, but I don't think she'll be able to because I think it'll be like we actually need each other. We have nothing. I think George is at least a shield for her, but I'm actually more worried about Dave for her in ways because what's George gonna do? Like George needs to worry about himself. He can't get revenge on
Yeah.
Shonee.
Yeah.
Or I mean, yeah.
I think that if Shonee tries to attach herself to the sinking George ship, like that to me does
No,
not seem like a recipe to success. I think that I agree with you. I think George is just so like
doomed.
you watch him on those 2 seasons and then he comes back here. It's like, what possible reason would you ever have to keep him around? Like he's proven himself to be like one, someone who will backstab his allies, two, someone who's like a very aggressive, like take charge, like the whole tribe kind of has to bow to his whim type player. Like, yeah, that is absolutely I feel like this is very much like Russell Hands coming back for the third time here with George. Like, so I think that Shawnee, what she needs to like let that happen. Let the George one go.
And then
Use the
swap.
time, yeah, use the time that like the George boot would give her to like really form the strong connections with the Kirby's, Janine, Sarah, Luke, David, whichever one of those she thinks, and she's good at identifying who would be her like best out on that whole thing, and finding that out and maybe selling it from the perspective of like, hey, look, David, you think David's with you? He's with Parvati. Like David has connections to the other side that like we just don't have, and if we want one of the Australians to win this, maybe going with David is not our best route because David cannot take all of us to the end.
I do think
So
David, yeah, he's so insulated, but I do think the one good thing is like, well, George has no power anyway, but like he got one, like he took her out, so like he can't be mad at her, like,
mhm,
and even more so, more importantly, Dave doesn't need to get revenge on Shonee. Like he took her out,
yep.
and then she voted for him to win. So like
Mhm.
actually think and because Dave loves the revenge thing. If she had won over him, believe me, he'd be coming in with like a vendetta. But he's way more worried about George having more confessionals than he is about Shonee, I think, even though they were on opposite sides, who still voted for him to win and who I think he's probably at least fine with. So I think that that's okay. And then it becomes not being the focus of him. Like it's
David, yeah,
possible that
David
Dave just
still
has other
might want.
focuses.
He might still want the revenge storyline. I mean,
On
he will just.
Janine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
Well,
fair.
yeah. Yeah. But do you think on Shonee?
If I remember All Stars, he was like, "I need to get revenge on Harry." It was like, why? You guys weren't even working together. Like, there's
Yeah,
no.
but Harry voted him out at least.
Harry
Like
did,
Shawnee
yeah.
didn't vote him out. Like Shawnee lost to him handily, like literally in the game
I
and in the battle and the war of all stars. Where I think that he, like, tell me that David is like, I need to get revenge on Shawnee, and he loves the revenge storyline, but it would make no sense. Like
it
revenge
would
for
it would
what?
make
Like you
no
won.
sense.
Whereas if you were to say that he's like, okay, George is gone, and now Janine, like I'm still mad at Janine from 2019, even though I won the game, and Dondi since like that would also make no sense, but I imagine in his creative mind, from a narrative perspective, that makes more sense than going for Shawnee from a
Yeah.
revenge perspective. Like if he has to get revenge on anyone, it should be someone who voted him out of the game and not like
Mhm.
voted for him to win the game in the second season.
I think something that she does have going for her when we talk about like this tribe breakup is the fact that this is such a short season, and I think that there is like I mean, what is this? This is like 14 days, 16 days, something like
Yeah,
that.
it's very short. I don't think
It,
we know exactly, do we? So
I
it's
think
it's
there's
2-ish weeks.
Yeah, I think that there's a world where some people might be coming into this like looking at it as an exhibition match, right? Like not necessarily trying to do like the boring alliance, like let's just stick it to the end, being like, no, we're out here for literally 2 weeks. All of our legacies are cemented. Nobody's gonna walk away from the season being like, wow, they really suck. Like everyone, we already know that everyone's great. Uh and if people just want to like, earn style points, that could be where Shonee really like slips in, being like, hey, don't you want to take out the Golden God? Don't you want to like do this blindside on like the 2-time winner of US Survivor, right? Like, I think that there is going to be room this season, I hope at least, where people don't want to just do like the boring, safe gameplay, but because there's so limited time, they're just like ready to play from the beginning. Um, and yeah, especially if like she just has that early boot of George in front of her, like I think that by vote 2, they might not want to do the boring vote anymore. Like people might just want to play.
Yeah, I kind of like Shonee. You have fun with Shonee. You have fun watching her. You have fun playing with her. And I do think that there could be some shaming going on about like, don't be so boring. Like,
Yeah.
and I had seen that as attaching to David and trying to get in his whims of. I really see like Janine as like because I watched Celebrity Apprentice where he was trying to get revenge on Janine even though she was an advisor, and not a player in the season. So that's like my one thing. I can't imagine why he'd come for Sarah who he's never played with. I think he and Luke are like sacrosanct. Like I feel like that's like even though I'm sure they could vote each other out and it is like an exhibition match, like I don't think he's coming for Luke. And I don't really think Luke's coming for him. I think it's a tricky spot, but if anyone can find like a crack, and we've seen it happen, you know, if anyone can play from the bottom, which I think she is in that position, if anyone could use some charm to find some space, it is Shonee. So I should give her that credit. I don't love the spot for her. I'm not making her my winner pick, but I would love to see how that charm works. And I could, yeah, let's see how she makes that same alliance structure once again, gets a few more days in the historic tally.
Well, yeah,
And see how it goes.
I also just think of how we were like before Winners at War, we were like, oh well, Rob and Sandra, like that alliance is locked in, and then you can fold Amber and Tyson and Ethan and all these people into that, and like it's locked and loaded. And then episode 1 starts, and Sandra's targeting Amber, and it's like I hate Ross and Rob.
That was
So
unforeseeable.
yeah, like I think that there are for someone like Sarah, for example, we might be sitting here being like, oh well, Sarah and Luke, like they play in the same season, like that's a duo right there. You very well might know what their relationship is like. I have no clue what's happened for the
I think they have a
past
good relationship.
8
I mean,
years.
I did Talking Tribal with Sarah as a guest with Luke. It seemed good then. That was 5 years ago.
Look,
But
there plenty of relationships can be good before the All-Star season, and then after the All-Star season, all of a sudden they're not good anymore. So maybe that'll be the case for some of these.
yeah, we gotta hope for the best. We'll see. We'll see. I think it is hard because yeah, I do wonder how many of these players Shonee knows. It's gonna be fun watching it. She doesn't know. Does she know anyone on this season who she hasn't played with? Has she
I have no
watched?
clue.
Do we think who could? I can't imagine. Maybe before she played her first time, they made her watch like 2017. So she watched like
Yeah.
Luke and Sarah.
I mean, you don't
Yeah,
think that she watched like Titans Rebels? Because that's
I
really
really
the
don't.
only other season that she would
I'm
need to have
pretty well. She
seen.
just had a kid at the time, and I'm pretty sure
It's
I
a lot
even
of
saw her
time
be
at
like,
home.
no, I think she was like, I'm watching maths. And I was like,
Okay.
no, the ratings, Shonee. JLP's gonna get fired, please.
Yeah.
So I don't think she's coming in knowing, and but that's the Shonee charm, right? And then we'll see how it goes. And maybe she's done some research again
Mhm.
in like a busy life, but we'll see. Yeah. How do you are you high on? You have high hopes as a Shonee expert for Shonee?
I did until you were
I'm
so
so sorry.
poo-pooing. I still think
I'm
she's gonna do
sorry.
well. I think that this is a season where one, like I said, I think that the world tribe is just in more danger naturally from just a challenge strength perspective. I just think they're older. Two, I
Later
then think
days.
that yeah, I too think right, yeah, the middle-aged mafia.
Mm.
Uh, two, I think that she has the easy first boot on her tribe. Like that is not her, that is George. Like there is someone that if they do lose that one, that she can very easily just like let go. And then three, I just think that we're gonna get an early swap or an early merge, and then once she's in there, and then all of a sudden, like that's all she needs is just to survive to like the merge, basically, which should be on like day 4. Uh, and then all of a sudden, it's Tony versus David, it's Suri versus Janine. It's like all of these like kind of aggressive Titan players going after each other, and she's very much someone that could like get in with the Parvati, get in with like some of the other girls, uh, and just like fade into the background, let the big egos like take each other out, and then reemerge at the end. And even if she can't do that, even if she's at the bottom, like at the start of the game, she can find an idol. Like,
Yeah.
she has many outs to get to the point where she needs to get to, and then once she's there, I just think, like, you can lock her in.
Yeah. Although she in herself is such a titan, given that, from that season, I think that she didn't watch. And then also,
Yeah.
not to be like such a downer about this, but then I'm thinking like as well, like Shawnee's charm is like getting the time to really put in that social work. And this whole season is as long as that like one Exile week on All Stars.
Mhm.
So that is not as well not in her favor to like get in there and like work her magic to either like find a path or like gain power. So the more I talk, the more pessimistic I'm going to be. And
I
I
don't
don't
know
want
if
to be.
I don't know if she's someone that needs a
I
lot
don't
of
think she needs it.
time,
I
though.
just
Like, I
think
think that
she
she
needs
is
off it. Yeah.
yeah, I think she's very naturally charming, and I think that
Mm.
that is actually gonna be great for this, like, shortened time where it's when you're instantly just go obviously, like, these people have years-long relationships, so, like, it's not just gonna be, like, meeting for the first time, but, like, for the people that she does meet on the first like, for the first time, uh, I think she'll be okay. I think that they're gonna really take to her.
Well, you describing her as Courtney, Kelly Wentworth, poverty, like this is a glowing endorsement. So don't mind me and all of my pessimism. And I'm just concerned because I know that Donnie's going to be the most important part of the season. It's such
Yeah.
required reading for the season, and Shonee is not part of that. But you never know. Shonee will find a way, and I'm wrong to doubt her. One thing Shonee can do is like it's like death taxes and like Shonee going very far in Australian Survivor. So I should know that she's
Mhm.
going to do that. But Zach, thank you so much. It was so great to get you as the Shonee expert. I think that it's a big job. A
Mhm.
lot of people want to be the Shonee expert. Chappelle complained about it in the podcast I just did with him, but I think you did very well with it.
Thank you. Well, before I go, can I shout out my, like, 2 other underrated, Shawnee moments that are my favorites?
Yeah, so please.
Number 1 is on All Stars when they were at the bottom and they see a cow, and they were like, "Should we ask him to be in our alliance?"
Was that All Stars?
It was All Stars, yeah, it was with Brooke,
Oh,
and they were like,
what a
"Hey,
time.
they're like, "Do you wanna make a move?" It was a very
That's
cute
great.
scene.
Yeah.
And then, number 2, and this is just like a vocal, like, thing that I've just adopted, and it's, like, one of my favorite things ever, is the way that, like, her and Fenella would just say, "Grubby! Oh, Grubby!" And then, like, at one point they go, "All hail King Grubby!"
Wow, almost an hour into getting the Australian accent.
No, no, no,
Between you and Oma.
This isn't an Australian accent, this is just how Shawnee speaks.
She's
And
Australian.
that specific line, I would just after I watched that, I would just go around my house, just, like, literally, like, under my breath going, "Grubby! All hail King Grubby!"
Well, that's
It's literally, like, one of my favorite moments in Survivor history that no one talks about, but that's
yeah,
Shawnee for you.
they did love Brian Lake. I apologize for my cat. Like, ask me about my cat who's just jumping around going crazy. So if you hear that, it's not my fault. It's her
Mhm.
fault. She's a big Shawnee fan, clearly, as well. But yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun with Shawnee over 124 days. Hopefully, we get another couple of weeks with that. But Zach, thank you so much. Where can people check out what you're doing?
Yeah, it's at Zach Wirt on everything, and then me and my brother just did the Genius recap. If you watch the Genius UK season 1, which I don't know what the Venn diagram is like for that, and you want to hear more people talking about it. Honestly, if you watch the Genius UK season 1, you probably already found our podcast. I don't know how many Rob as a podcast fans are going to be like, "Oh my god, like I didn't know you guys covered that." But yeah, we did. So you could check that out.
I'm gonna catch up on all the podcasts and all the. I'm halfway through the Genius UK, and I'm gonna finish it.
It's about to get good.
You don't even know where I'm up to. You can't just promise that.
Oh, it's
Well,
gonna get better.
I will listen for the podcast. That's what it'll be. It'll be worth it. But this was great. You can follow me at Shannon Gates, WienerGlobalSurvivor.com. When will this be out? I don't know. Like things are up in the air. Like things we don't know because we don't know when the premiere date is. So I feel like I've been shifting around the schedule. Then I plug things and it's wrong, and then like that kills part of my OCD. But
Right.
after this, I think we will be talking about Kirby and get to the other side of that interaction where they don't know who each other are. So Liana will be with me to talk about that. At the time of this being out, you will have heard the one about Sari, you will have heard Lisa, you will have heard David. And then we've got the entire cast left to go, finishing Survivor Quebec, got to start Survivor Finland. A lot going on to see how Shonee will construct her alliance, that same alliance that Zach pointed out. But this was wonderful. Thank you so much, Zach. Thank you to our team behind the scenes. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.